I'm really happy to be here today with you. It's going to be a little bit different than the normal webinars where it's show focused, whereas today is very much focused on you working through writing your bio along with me. Now, as we're recording, I understand if you are feeling a little bit shy about it and you don't necessarily want to turn on your camera or share, but we'll try and make it work as well as we can. So I'm just seeing that my connection's a little bit unstable here. So I'm just going to try and everybody hear me okay? Maybe Saoirse, you might tell me if you can hear me all right.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay now.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Saoirse. Okay, just wanted to make sure you're all with me. So first of all, if you haven't already downloaded your worksheet, I have just put it into the chat. So you could download it and open it up on your desktop now if you'd like to just have it there to look at as we're going through. And if you have already downloaded it or printed it out, that's great. Then we can kind of work with it as we go today. So first of all, I'd really just like to kind of tell you why I put this workshop together. And I suppose myself as a former journalist, editor, now media trainer, various different hats that I wear in my work, I find that I have that kind of classic multi-hyphenate career. So I'm always thinking about what I'm doing a bio for and maybe changing my bio up to suit a particular thing. So I would have a very different bio if I was wearing my editor hat than if I'm wearing my founder of the Speak Up Club hat. And I would adjust my bio for different situations. So I think that's part of what I'd like you to take away from today. If you were to only take one thing away and turn off your computer right now, the key thing I would say to you is that if you're worried about writing your bio, if you don't like talking about yourself, if that's what is your problem, or if you're wondering how to adjust your bio for different situations, then the key thing to remember is that it's not about you. So you can stop going, oh, I hate talking about myself, because really what you need to think about is it's about the person that's reading it. It's about that customer, that client, or that audience. So you should always bear them in mind when you're writing it, and then bear that in mind for adjusting it for different situations that you might need to use a bio for. So if that was all you took away from today, I'd be very happy. But it is about that. So with that in mind, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But I'd first of all just love to get an idea from people who are here, if you wouldn't mind typing into the chat sort of what your role is, first of all, what your job is. I'd like to just get a sense of who I'm talking to, because I do believe that in everything I do, when I'm teaching public speaking, when I'm creating content as an editor, or when I'm doing a bio up, it's always about who's going to be the audience, who's going to read it. So I suppose that is the one link that links everything I do, is that it is about who is the audience, who's reading it, who's watching it, who am I talking to? And that's very much what I'd like you to focus on as well when you're doing your bios. So we've got a really great range of things here, from a ceramic artist, a coach, trainer, speaker, aviation insurance specialist, founder, office manager, marketer, illustrator, digital marketing assistant, digital marketing consultant. So really wide range of people. Screenwriter and creative copywriter. No worries. Everyone is, I'm happy for everyone to leave their cameras off as well. If anybody does want to share anything or put their camera on, that's great as well. And if anybody does want to share a bio and have a look at their bio and go through it with the group, that would also be fabulous. But as we're being recorded, I don't expect anyone to be overly sharing. If you want to keep things confidential, that's fine too. So we'll try and work around that in this setting. The other thing I'd really like to know about all of you is if there's anyone here who has a particular thing in mind of where your bio needs to go. So I'd always think about this when writing a bio. Is it for your website? Is it for your LinkedIn? Is it for a conference you're speaking at? Is it for an article you're writing for a magazine that you need to send something with? So great, Jen has got a bio for a pitch deck, which is great. So that's probably something that's quite short, but also needs to encapsulate a lot of stuff. We've got one for a website again. So great. Okay, so there's a good few websites here, which will kind of suit how you kind of start doing it firstly anyway. I would say that, and we want for LinkedIn. So how we're going to work through this worksheet is that it's going to bring you to like the full picture, first of all. And then after you get that full picture, that's when you can start editing it down. So I would say that we'll go through what is on this, and then some of you may have already kind of filled some things in, and maybe something you need to sit and think about for a while and do later, but I'll kind of go through the process with you. And if you need, obviously maybe some people would need more than half an hour for this. So you can kind of go through the rest later on your own. But if you have a look at your website or your worksheet, and if you don't have it, it is there at the top of the chat. You can download it from the chat there in the PDF. So I might just share this screen again. 1 second. So what I want you to go through when you start this is to really pull everything you have together. So like your LinkedIn, it can be very helpful. You'll already have a lot of this information on your CV, on your LinkedIn. But this is really what I would say is kind of bringing the funnel outwards. So we really go and do kind of gather all of the information. And then when you're refining it, you really bring it back in. So I'm just going to check the chat. I think we have a little note from someone there. New message. The link didn't work. Okay, it's maybe Saoirse, would you mind sending it out again to Valerie, because she isn't able to download the bio or the worksheet that I put into the chat there. Or if anybody else needs it, this is a good time to put up your hand for that as well. I have it up on screen anyway, so we can send it out again if you need to get it again later. So what we're going to do is we're going to funnel out, gather all of the information on the worksheet, and then refine it back in. So with that in mind, that we're just putting everything down at the start and going through all of this. And then at the end, we'll talk about how to kind of refine it for the various different kind of situations you might want it for. So what I would do first is really gather all that information. You're going to do a complete inventory of your career. So we'll start with the very obvious things like your name, where you're living, industry you're in, how long you've been in it, your current role, and then your previous role. So far, very much just what is on your CV already. Then we'll go into your areas of expertise. So this is something that's not maybe on your CV as such already, but it is kind of thinking about what are your real areas that are your kind of key things that you either are currently doing in your role, or maybe that you feel like you're an expert in, but you aren't doing in your current role, but you want to be doing more of. So thinking about those areas and putting those down. Obviously, education and training, that's fairly obvious, basic ones, straight off your CV or your LinkedIn, you can pull those in from there. Then something that maybe you haven't thought about so much, putting in, and I would also encourage everyone to put all of this stuff onto your LinkedIn if you haven't already, is any awards you've got or any recognitions you've got. So really gather all of these things, these, everything you can, put it down here. And then something you might not have thought about in terms of your bio, but have you been on any media? Have you been a guest on a podcast? Have you been on TV? Have you done anything like that? So just list it here. You don't have to worry about how to use it just yet, but really pull in everything you possibly can. And then another thing just under this, I put social media. So what are your social media profiles? What are you on? What do you use? The next one is partnerships and collaborations. So who have you worked with? Have you done any kind of creative collaborations with anyone else? Do you work with any other companies regularly? Anything like that. And then the next one is professional organizations and memberships. So are you a member of, whatever your industry is, what have you signed up to? So for me, that might be like NUJ or something like that. So then what you might not have right now, or you might already have, and it's good to gather all of this together in this one place, is to get testimonials. So this can be from your clients, but it could also be from your mentors, former bosses, things like that. So 5 to 8 lines is a nice amount, and you can always edit their quotes down as well if you just need to take a little piece of what they said. So just to make sure that you get in the information, like what their relationship is to you, because that's important to specify sometimes as well, to say that you worked for this person, you were a client to this person, what it is. So a few of those is good to gather. But then we're going to move on to some more not so CV questions. And this is where we kind of go a bit deeper. And this is something that maybe isn't something you would have done right now or be able to scribble down as we go. But it's kind of thinking about the bigger questions. So even if you don't like your job, but if you do, great. And maybe this is going to bring up some things if you're not quite happy in your role, but really thinking about what are you passionate about? Because obviously your bio really wants to show the best side of you, the things you're most interested in. And I think going through a process like this for a lot of people can actually lead them to go, oh, I don't like this thing that I'm doing in my job. Maybe I'd rather my dream bio be something else. And maybe this is the time to actually put that down on paper as well. So what are you passionate about? What would you love to be in your dream bio? What would the dream job be even? And what are the best things about your job that you are doing that you do love doing? How do your passions connect to your work? So what is it in the role that you do that you very much enjoy, that you very much feel strongly about, that makes you feel fulfilled at the end of the day? And then how did they get you to where you are now? So what did you love when you were a kid that you then worked on in college that you have then amplified in your professional life? So think about that story arc as well. So these are definitely things you'll want to maybe sit with for a while, those questions. And I'm going to show you an example of someone who's done this and show you how they've written up theirs. And then you can see kind of, you know, a better idea of how those questions can be answered. But I think it's good for you to kind of think about how you'd answer them yourself first, because it has to come from the heart. And especially when you're talking about your passions and how that connects to your work, because it is very different for everyone. And I think we've such a wide range of people here today, you know, from digital marketing to artists to managers. So that's a very different answer for all of you. So some more of the kind of big work questions then. What are the accomplishments that you're most proud of? So very much in a work sense, but you could also include kind of more, it could be something like a sporting achievement, which you can often tie into, and I think a lot of sort of, you know, leadership coaching kind of terms and terminology also kind of aligns with sporting terminology. So, and more so leadership coaching today is aligning with well-being terminology. So you can bring in some kind of more outside achievements as well into this, but try and focus on a few big work accomplishments as well, because I think that's obviously very important for a bio, for a CV, for your LinkedIn, all of those. Then what's your big dream? So again, think about if you could achieve anything in your role currently, or if you could achieve anything outside of that role, what would be the dream job? What would you like to be known for? Then as well is another question that can bring out a few more things from you in terms of things that we can then refine into this bio. And it's not everything that you say here is going to go into your bio, but it's a very useful exercise to really just brain dump as much as you can out. And then afterwards, we can pick and choose certain things from it. So that's kind of very much those like kind of work dreams, goals, vision questions. But today, I think that we don't just think about work. And I certainly, some of those for me wouldn't be fully career answers in those questions, but I think that my career is sort of a very, I have to bring my whole self to work in what I do anyway, more so maybe than other careers. But I do want to delve now into some of the more personal questions, which are very much about bringing your whole self to the table and being yourself in work. And I think in most industries today, people have a lot more leeway to do that than maybe they did in the past. So do think about the more personal questions. So jot down a few things that are like, who are you outside work? Are you a husband, a wife, a partner, a parent, all of those sorts of things? Are you a sports person? Are you a charity volunteer? How would you kind of define yourself as a person apart from your career? Then what are your hobbies? Are there any things that are maybe, you know, in a bio that do demonstrate, if you're the captain of a team or something like that, you know, it's always a good thing to bring into work-related things because it does show kind of leadership and sportsmanship and all these good things that are important to note as well. And then finally, outside of work, because we will have answered some of the work ones already, but what topics excite you outside of work? So what are you like? If you pick up the Sunday papers, what supplement do you turn to first? What article do you want to read first? If you are looking at a newspaper online, what section are you looking at? Are you looking at the arts, the culture, the sports? So anything that you're really interested in outside of your role, that you might be into philosophy, politics, whatever. So what are the topics that you are most interested in? Think about those. And you could go, you know, more specific than that as well, but just trying to be general to kind of get a sense of what should go in here. So then going a little bit more personal again. So literally just brain dump the first things that come into your head. What are your favorite things? You know, it could be sunsets, puppies, clouds, whatever it is. How you like to relax, that, what you do in your spare time, any of that. And really, again, this is just about funneling out. It's not necessarily overthinking it too much about, I'm not going to put, you know, that I like puppies in my bio. It doesn't mean you're going to, but we're just going to brain dump everything down and then refine it when you're actually going to write it. And then finally, just think of a few maybe fun facts about yourself, because there are some instances where that sort of thing actually works and it's a more casual conversation, or it can help to kind of break the ice. So you won't put them in every very serious bio, but you might at some point. So, you know, it could be related to a sporting achievement. It could be something really hilarious that you won one time, whatever it is. You know, and that's so different for everyone, so it's very hard to give examples, but your fun facts about you. So, you know, it could be something recent. It could be anything at all. I'm just going to check the chat again. I think we have a new message there. Okay. So whether you're doing this right now or you have prepped it in advance, or you're going to go and take it away and do it later on this evening, a few prompts that can help you with answering some of those questions can be like, I'm an expert in, I'm excited by, I'm currently working on. So things like that, you know, sentences like that, if you finish those sentences, that can be quite helpful. Then another thing I want to note is kind of when we're writing bios, and I think these are things that can be questions that people frequently ask. So I'm going to head you off asking them and answer them already. So the first one is around the length or the word count. So that very much depends on the situation. So as I mentioned earlier, I mentioned one of the things you might want to do a bio for is if you are being published somewhere. So, you know, you very much always need to ask, what length of a bio do you need? And I have, you know, in the past, as a magazine editor, asked people for bios to just go in a little about the author slot, and they might send me their 300-word bio, but I have literally one line. So I might be able to go, Dr. Peter Smith is Professor Emeritus of Business in Stanford Business School, something like that. So you really need to have everything from your one-line version that might go at the end of an article in print, where a page doesn't have extra space and you need your top line bio that is literally a line. Then you also might want, say, if you're publishing something online, they might give you a paragraph bio. So you want your one paragraph bio. If you're a speaker at a conference, you know, they might be designing their program with a specific length. That might be a paragraph or it might be a page. It very much depends. So what I'd recommend doing is, where I have given space here to write in your bio, is to fill kind of a 300-word bio is kind of a good place to start, where you have your kind of quite a decent amount of space. So to put that in perspective for you, on a page of a magazine, there's probably about 450 words. So sort of 300 to 400 words is quite a full bio. Then maybe 150 to 200 is kind of your more of a paragraph bio. So you probably want to do your longer one first and then refine that down to the paragraph one as well. And then finally refine that down to just your one-liner, which is probably super easy because it's probably just your role for most of us who have just one role. Although, like, for me, it would be kind of sometimes a little bit harder to squash it into one line. So I would very much then go into, well, what is this for? Who is the audience here? Am I saying I'm an editor, or am I saying I'm a trainer, or am I saying something else? So we have a question in which is saying, even passions or favorite things can be divisive, such as being a cat or a dog person. I love this. Or the kind of music you like. So we don't know whether our readers or listeners share our passions, and how can we be sure that what we share is beneficial for us? That's a brilliant question. And I think that really, you know, it's kind of indicative almost of the way society is going today, that we have to be aware of everything we say, be very politically correct around everything we say. I think that even the phrase politically correct isn't politically correct anymore. So it's like impossible to keep up with. But, you know, you can't not share your personality or be afraid of sharing your personality. I mean, I think there's certainly, depending on the situation, that's what I'm saying, is that you tailor your bio towards your audience. So it's quite a serious professional kind of audience, then you want to send your more serious professional bio. Whereas if it is more of a fun, casual thing, or you know that it's a situation where you can insert a little bit more of your personality or a little bit more humor, then you can tailor it that way. And it does pay to check this out. And if someone asks you for a bio, ask them what are other people sending, what level of bio are we kind of doing, how many words do you want, all of this. And also the other question I wanted to answer for you before you ask is around first person and third person bio. So the first person is I, so that's saying, hi, my name is Deanna, and I'm writing this bio about myself and telling you all about my achievements. So I'm the founder of the Speak Up Club. I am a former magazine editor. I am a content creator. So everything is I. You're talking about yourself. Third person is where it is as if someone else is writing about you. So it's, so Saoirse works at Iconic Offices. Saoirse, you know, it's describing them. So it's writing about yourself in the third person is much more formal, much more professional, much more as if someone else has written it about you. Whereas if you write it in the first person, it's much more kind of intimate and connecting, and it's suitable for certain situations. So for instance, I'm going to just flick through down a couple of these here. Just want to show you, for instance, I might need to go out of the chat to go back into. Okay, I'm just going to stop my screen share for a second because I can't seem to move it on. But I wanted to show you, for instance, so I'm just going to bring it up and then share it again. For my website, it is very, the Speak Up Club was founded to be a very female-friendly kind of workshop space, so that it's very non-threatening, it's very friendly, and that was the whole ethos of it, is that it's somewhere people can get together with kind of like-minded people, feel like it's a safe environment, it's a very friendly space. So for my bio for that, in my about section on my website, it's very much, hi, my name is Deanna, this is me, I'm just writing about myself. And it's not a very formal bio, it's very just chatty and friendly. So there's other instances where something much more serious would be what it would be used. So this is from my LinkedIn, and this is an example of where I have a lot of different hats in the work I do. So I'm trying to kind of tell everyone all of that. And this is the about section from my LinkedIn, which, as you can see, is not written in the first person, like on my website, it's written in the third person. So it's much more formal. It's trying to go through a lot of stuff. So I have gone with using bullet points for this because it's just separates it out much more easily. And I think that for the LinkedIn, that can work. But if it was a bio for a conference or something like that, I would obviously use something more tailored to the audience and probably much shorter than this as well. But here I'm just trying to get everything into one place. So separating it out so people can kind of hop on to the section that is of interest to them, because they might be looking at my bio in terms of a specific area that I work in. But then this was my bio from today's webinar. So I very much wiped a lot of stuff out of that. I'm not telling you about what newspapers I've written articles for, because that's not really relevant to why you're here today. So this is quite, and this bio got you here today, so hopefully it's good enough to do that. So this is much more tailored to just telling you that really what I'm doing around webinars and kind of your personal branding and personal voice is very much related to the Speak Up Club. And I don't feel it's related to maybe my journalism career or any of that. So I've tailored it more to just talking about this. And I did see a chat question there from someone that is, have a mixed artist statement and bio. And do you think I have to separate them? I think artist statements, so I have a question here saying, I have a mixed artist statement and bio, and should I separate them? So I think for artists that it can be quite a different thing. And I'm not too well versed in artist statements, but from what I would say is that maybe, like, as far as I know, maybe if you have, say, an artist statement that is connected to a particular body of work or a particular exhibition, would I be right in saying that your artist statement would be very much about that body of work or that exhibition, whereas your bio might be more about your whole career? So Valerie, maybe you want to let me know that. I think that could, as far as I think I know, that might be what they would be, and I would separate them if that's right. Yeah, so Valerie's just going to send me a link there and I will have a look. Another question that's come in there is, should I treat a cover letter like a bio about myself? And I think, yeah, I think if you pull everything out of that worksheet there, you could definitely use that to help you write up a cover letter, because essentially a cover letter is kind of a bio, but bearing in mind that you have already, and we're on a little tangent here, but let's go with it. So bearing in mind that you've already noted down a lot of that kind of, you know, the career inventory is all in your CV. So they'll be getting that with the cover letter anyway. So really what you want to do in your cover letter is, again, it's speaking to your audience, and very much like your bio is as well. So speaking to your audience in terms of, with a cover letter, I'd go through the job description. I'd take out the points that they're looking for in the job description. Like, we're looking for someone who is, and the buzzwords that they use, and then like literally jot down those buzzwords and respond to those words with why you have that skill or are that person. If they're looking for someone dynamic, tell them why you're dynamic. If they're looking for someone who's really organized, tell them why you're really organized. So use the cover letter to respond to the keywords that are in the job description. And I do think that if people are using artificial intelligence to weed through CVs and cover letters that they get in, apparently it's like an SEO search. So if you don't have the keywords in your cover letter, your application can just be, you know, moved straight to the bin because it doesn't have the keywords. So kind of recruitment companies and people that are using artificial intelligence to sort through applications, you do need to literally treat it like using keywords on a website, and put in all the keywords that are in the job description in your cover letter, and then respond to them and explain yourself why you are that person that has those skills. So we have someone sharing a portfolio here, an art bio. So I'm going to have a quick look. And then I also have another question I'm just going to deal with first. So there is an artist bio, short and long, an artist CV with education exhibitions. I presume you can all read this in the chat, so I won't read it all out, but okay, Sandra, if you could kind of be more specific what the question is there, and I'm just going to have a quick look at the artist statement I have. Yeah, so Valerie has sent us in the link to her artist statement here. And I think, yeah, Valerie, I would say that that very much is about, I suppose, your inspiration and things like that. So your bio, if you were writing a bio, might be more like kind of going through exhibitions, awards, things like that. Like there is space, I think, for another bio where you kind of do do that as well, because your artist statement is certainly more about your kind of inspirations and your work, whereas your bio might be more factual and have, you know, where you studied, where you've exhibited, awards you've won, grants, or residencies, things like that. So I think that, yeah, you could definitely separate out into artist statement and bio there. I want to just show you a couple of slides before, and I know because we are kind of hopping around the place here. So I just want to show you a couple of slides of things that were done in response to that worksheet, to show you sort of how someone has pulled that together into a very long bio. And I would say, for me, this is a long bio that you could put on your website. So this is a first person bio. So I'm going to actually show you. So these are kind of all the questions. So examples of like, what are you passionate about? I'm a people person and I love having meaningful discussions. I'm a big believer everyone has a story to tell. So this is someone who has a coffee shop has done this. How do your passions connect to your work? I love being a coffee shop owner because I get to create something I love, coffee, while forming relationships with regular customers in the community and meeting new people every day. So these kind of things, you know, once you fill these all out, you can kind of go through your answers and, you know, see how they link in. So not everything will necessarily link together, because some of us have kind of broad ranges of interests. And, you know, maybe like her fun fact here is that she plays the guitar, and maybe that really isn't relevant to her bio. But then again, you know, if it's a very kind of casual connecty bio where it is kind of getting to know the person, I've actually put these in the wrong order. So here was the first, you know, more basic things, name, all of this stuff. So the the hobbies can maybe go in or not go in, very much depends. You might want to say what I like doing in my spare time in your website bio, and it makes you seem more personable. Think people have, you know, a connection, or they can have something that they have in common with you. And it goes back to that question we got in there about, well, you know, things can be divisive. So, you know, I don't think I would shy away from saying I'm a dog person and my dog is here with me in the room while I'm giving the webinar. And I probably should have mentioned that before in case he barked. But, you know, that means that, okay, cat people, I don't think they're going to hate me because I like dogs. I like cats too. But it does certainly, if anyone here is like, oh, I have a dog too. What kind of dog do you have? It instantly creates a conversation. So kind of circling back to that question that you had there about, you know, should we say things about ourselves? Are they going to be divisive? I mean, I wouldn't say offensive, divisive things. But certainly if you know, I wouldn't maybe bring in like my political views. I don't have any offensive political views, just for the record. But if I did, I certainly wouldn't advise putting them into a bio, because that is going to be divisive. And unless you actually are in politics, then that is, you know, that's certainly not relevant to the work you do. So if you're a graphic designer, you know, it doesn't matter what party you're voting for, and it's not relevant maybe to your work. So people don't need to know that. Whereas if you're in politics, yes, it is relevant. So it is very much tailored to the situation. So just want to show you there this kind of example of a person who did a first person bio that's very friendly. It's like well, it starts high friend, it's very American. So maybe like, you know, that is something that might be not so much for a European market, but this is like an LA coffee shop. So it's of, you know, of itself, it does convey that personality. It conveys the area that she's working in, and it kind of, you get the vibe from it. So you can bring in things to your bio that do kind of give people a sense of you, and it's not a bad thing. I think depending, again, for professional ones, sometimes it needs to be very technical, sometimes it needs to be very serious. But I think a lot of you that are here today might be in more kind of creative spheres where you can definitely bring in more of your personality. And then this is one of the more kind of formal versions. So this is the third person bio, where actually it isn't so friendly and chatty. It is more serious and factual, and it's not as kind of personality based, but it does still bring in things. If you look at the last paragraph there, so it does say when she's not, you know, at the cafe, you can find Emma volunteering at the local animal shelter. So you can certainly still bring in something that is a hobby or something like that in a longer bio. If it is for your own website, I'd say definitely. I think that you can show off more of your personality on your own website if you are in a not too serious job. I mean, not, if you're like in the legal profession, it's quite, old fashioned and conservative. Maybe I wouldn't go there. If you're a solicitor who's just setting up their own website and wants to do their bio, I think you definitely keep it very kind of professional level there. But again, if you're a solicitor in a small town, maybe you want to show a little bit more that maybe you're on the parents' PTA committee in the school, or you train the local rugby team, or whatever it is. So you can bring in some things that are relevant to the kind of situation.